When you design a questionnaire, you not only write the questions and answers, but also create the structure that enables answers to be recorded and tabulated. A carefully designed questionnaire can help increase the quality of the data that you collect. Through careful design, you can better select the appropriate options at the appropriate time for a questionnaire. Now, the following points can help you plan an effective questionnaire. First, clearly define the purpose of the questionnaire to help guarantee that the questions support the purpose. Determine the individual person or the group of people who should complete the questionnaire. Write questions that will appear on the questionnaire and include answer choices if applicable. Be sure that the questionnaire flows logically so that respondents remain engaged. Arrange questions and answers in the order that they should be presented to respondents in. Decide how the results should be evaluated if applicable. And then finally, decide whether you'll need additional features. For example, determine whether and how results should be categorized, whether a time limit is required, or whether all the questions will be mandatory. There are two required and one optional prerequisite required for designing a questionnaire. First, we have questionnaire types. Questionnaire types are required and must be assigned when you create a questionnaire. Questionnaire types help you manage and classify questionnaires more easily. Use questionnaire types to classify questionnaires and differentiate them from each other. For example, if you have multiple questionnaires to select from, you can filter them by type to help it make it easier to find a particular questionnaire. Your question types. Now, question types are required and must be assigned when you create a question. You use question types to categorize questions for reporting. Question types also make it easier to find questions because you can use types as filters on the question page. And then we have questionnaire parameters. Now, these are optional. You might not use them depending on your company's requirements. Parameters define the anonymity, number of sequence codes, and reference types for a questionnaire. When an organization distributes a questionnaire, the option to allow respondents to remain anonymous might be of concern. The number sequence codes are used to organize questions and answers. Based on these number sequence codes, values are automatically assigned to items. You should define all parameters before you begin to create your data. You can modify the questionnaire parameter settings at any time. Now we're going to talk about the questionnaire components. Questionnaires comprise three main elements: answer groups that contain the answers for multiple choice questions, and the questionnaire itself. You can optionally group the questions on a questionnaire into result groups. Result groups let you categorize questions and provide further analysis on the questionnaire. Respondents can answer a question in two ways, depending on the subject of the question. Open-ended questions don't require responses in a specific format. Respondents can type a response as text, a number, a date, or a time. These questions typically require that the respondents provide subjective information in their answers, such as an opinion, description, evaluation, or an estimate. Closed-ended questions require that the respondent select an answer in a list of possible correct answers. To provide a list of possible answers for closed-end questions, you can create answers on the Answer Groups page. Answer groups and answers are components that make up the main body of information that questions are created from. After you create an answer group, you can associate the answer group with a question in the answer group field on the questions page. An answer group can be used for more than one question on the same questionnaire and can also be used on more than one questionnaire. Now, a questionnaire must contain questions. Questions can be either open-ended or closed-ended. The responses to open-ended questions aren't controlled, and respondents can type their answers. Closed-ended questions require a list of predefined response options, and the questions can be structured to let a respondent select multiple responses. Questions should be designed to elicit specific information from a respondent and must be linked to an answer group that provides the response questions for each closed-ended question. Now, before you can set up closed-ended questions, you must create answer groups and answers. Questions can be arranged in a conditional question hierarchy so that secondary questions depend on the answer that the respondent selects from the previous question. You can write the questions first and then arrange them into a hierarchy later.
For each questionnaire, you can specify the following information: the total time or time limit to answer mandatory questions, whether all questions are mandatory, whether to calculate points on a questionnaire, how to categorize results, whether the questionnaires will be available to a restricted set of respondents, whether additional notes are required in order to clarify the intent of the questionnaire for the respondents, whether to display questions on a fixed order or randomly select them from a pool, and then finally, whether questions will be asked only if specific responses are given for previous answers. The primary page that you use to set up a questionnaire is the questionnaires page. To set up a questionnaire, complete the following tasks in order. First, create the questionnaire. Follow one of these two steps to attach questions to the questionnaire. If you're using results groups, you can attach questions to a questionnaire by using result groups. First, set up the result groups for the questionnaire and then add questions to the result groups. If you aren't using result groups, you can attach questions directly to the questionnaires. Set up conditional question hierarchy if it's required. Test the questionnaire. And then finally, on the questionnaires page, click Validate to test whether the questionnaire is assembled correctly. However, it's also a good idea to complete the questionnaire and test it yourself before you distribute it. You can complete the following tasks on the questionnaires page. Now, you can modify information in the questionnaire on the General, Introduction, Setup, and Result fast tabs. In the Questions tab on the Action pane, you can click Delete or New to delete or add a question. Now, be careful when you change questionnaires that have already been answered. Changes can reduce the accuracy of statistics and therefore make them a poor basis for evaluation. Consider creating a new question instead of changing a question that has already been answered. In a questionnaire, you can't delete the following types of questions: questions that are attached to a questionnaire, or questions that have already been answered and therefore appear in the answers dialog box.